Today in our 2016 Winnebago Sunova Motorhome, you're going to be taking a look at, I'm going to show you how to install the SuperSpring SumoSprings Rebel Custom Helper Springs for the front axle, part number SSF-170-40-2. One of the common problems that people have when they buy a new RV is because the vehicle is so top heavy, basically you're driving a big box down the road. You get a big crosswind, or you're passing a tractor trailer, or even turning corners. Because it's so top heavy, the RV tends to want to lean. And you get a lot of body roll and sway. That's going to cause driver fatigue because the driver's having to muscle that steering wheel to keep it in the lane when you get that crosswind. What these are going to do for you, it's going to greatly reduce that body roll because it's going to limit the amount of travel the top of your RV is going to do back and forth. What's great about having a two-piece design, it's going to allow for unlimited suspension travel. For instance, like your off-road campsites where the terrain might be a little bit rougher. The springs are going to be constructed of a microcellular urethane. It's going to resist UV rays, road salts, and oils. Your brackets are going to be a powder-coated steel to help resist any rust or corrosion. Another thing that's great about these is once they are installed, they're maintenance-free. You're not going to worry about checking air pressure like some of the other ones out there. A couple things we're going to need to get this installed. You're going to need a socket wrench, 14mm socket, or you can just use a wrench, 14mm wrench. You're going to need a paint marker. Now, if you'd really like to increase the total ride quality of the front and the rear of the vehicle, I suggest picking up a set for the rear. You can find those on our website using part number SSR-180-54-1. Now that we've gone over some of the features of our front springs, let me show you how to get those installed. We need to remove our bump stop. We need a 13mm socket. There's a bolt that's going to be right up here in the center. We're going to remove our bump stop. We're going to retain our bolt because our bolt is going to be put right back in place with our new bracket. So I'll use a 13mm socket and an extension. I'm just going to take some pliers like this, or you can use a wrench too. Something just to grip that nut. Once we get our joint stop removed, next we're going to take our upper bracket. It looks like this. We want it to face up like this. This is going to be up, going up towards the bottom of the frame. You're going to have two bolts, hex bolts. They're going to look like this. We're going to drop them down inside the two holes like that. And then our bolt that we took out of our joint stop is going to go up through that center hole. You notice there's a little bit of a lip right here. That's going to fit around the edge of the frame. Now we're going to bolt this right back up into place where we just removed our bump stop. You notice the tapered sides? We want those facing out towards the tire. And then our lip is going to be right on this inside edge right here. Just like that. Now on our upper, the upper part for our new springs, you're going to notice there's 4 holes. It's only going to fit in 2 of them. So once you get those lined up, the bolts that you originally put in, you're just going to screw them down into the holes. Then we'll take our 14mm wrench. We'll go ahead and tighten our spring onto our upper bracket. Now we're going to set our lower section of our spring up. This is going to be towards the front of the vehicle. This side is going to be towards the back. We're going to be going right over this plate here underneath. This is going to be the plate where our U-bolts for our lower, or for our leaf springs. This is the bracket that mounts on the top. We're going to be going over the top of that. Get that loosely installed there. You can see it's a little bit more lined up there. Again, it may seem just a little bit off because our suspension is hanging. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our paint marker and we're going to slide this to where we're about centered, as much as we can get movement inside of that hole. And it looks like I'm back as far as I can go. If you have to set this anywhere you know, in the center where it's not all the way to one side. What you're going to do is you're going to take your marker and you're going to get it on the spot lined up, and then you're going to mark the edge of it. Then you pull this back off and you'll get your marks lined up from your spring and your mark on your bracket, and you're going to tighten that bottom bolt. I don't have any more movement. I'm back as far as I can go right here. So I'll pull this back off. And we're all the way to the bottom, so I'll go ahead and tighten it up right there. Next, we're going to have a long and a short bolt. Your long bolt's going to be towards the front. Short bolt's going to be in the back. You'll have 2 of them for each side. So we'll go ahead and take our short bolt. I'm going to feed it right down through the hole in the bracket. And on the back side, you're going to have a hole right up here on top. It's a square hole. We're going to drop it down. You're going to put one on each corner. And you're going to have a bracket like this. This side is going to face up. So on this, towards the front, it might be a little easier if you slide the bracket in over your sway bar, and then slide your bolt down through the holes in it, inside of it. And once you get that, you can put your hex nuts on. And we'll do the same thing in the back. And then we'll take our 14mm socket and tighten them into place. You want to make sure you tighten them simultaneously or back and forth to make sure that your bracket sits flat up against your spring, up against your leaf spring. On this front side, once you get up so high, you may have a little bit of trouble with your socket because of your axle here. So you may need to use a 14mm wrench. So if you can see here, this plate that's underneath our spring, I don't know if you can see it very well. There's actually, the customer has a steering stabilizer installed. I had to use a 14mm wrench to tighten the nuts up on the bottom. Once you get the one side done, go ahead and repeat the process on the other side. That'll do it for a look at and installation on the SuperSprings SumoSprings Rebel Custom Helper Springs for the front axle, part number SSF-170-40-2 on our 2016 Winnebago Sunova Motorhome.